This is Noir Alley. I'm your host, Eddie Muller. Each weekend here on TCM, I bring you another sampling of the sinister cinematic movement known as film noir. This time it's a film from 1946, The Verdict, made at Warner Brothers and starring one of the genre's greatest on-screen duos. Not Bogart and Bacall, not Ladd and Lake. I'm talking about Sidney Greenstreet and Peter Lorre. Their first picture together was the landmark 1941 version of Dashiell Hammett's classic, The Maltese Falcon, a film significant for many reasons, not the least of which is that it was the screen debut of 61-year-old Sidney Greenstreet, playing globe-trotting and garrulous treasure hunter Caspar Gutman. Greenstreet's urbane malevolence sparked so perfectly off Lorre's squirrely old-world eccentricity, the studio began regularly pairing them in crime and adventure stories, 9 of them in 5 years. At first, they played supporting roles in big pictures like Casablanca and Passage to Marseille. But pretty soon, they were popular enough to get leading roles in pictures like The Mask of Demetrios and Three Strangers. The Verdict would be their last film together, and it's a good one to go out on. It's based on a novel called The Big Bow Mystery by British writer Israel Zangwill. Written in 1891, it's a locked room mystery, a story in which the crime is committed in a room locked from the inside. So how could the culprit escape? That is the mystery. The first story of this type was The Murders in the Rue Morgue, written by Edgar Allan Poe in 1841, which is also considered to be the first detective story. Many writers followed Poe's template, which would be perfected by Arthur Conan Doyle, Agatha Christie, and John Dickson Carr. Zangwill's book had been adapted previously as The Perfect Crime in 1928, then again in 1934 as The Crime Doctor. Warner Brothers dusted it off in 1946 when producer William Jacobs realized it could be a perfect vehicle for these two magically mismatched actors. Greenstreet plays a proud and pompous Scotland Yard superintendent, while Lorre is the lawman's avuncular, artistic, and alcoholic friend, who could be a murderer. The adaptation was entrusted to Peter Milne, a veteran screenwriter with numerous mysteries on his resume, including The Kennel Murder Case, adapted in 1933 from the famous novel by S.S. Van Dyne. One person who didn't care for Milne's script was the film's director, Don Siegel. This was his first chance to direct a feature, however, so Siegel zipped his lip and forged ahead, something at which he became a master. Don Siegel had started his career in the studio's film library as an archivist. He taught himself to cut film and was soon responsible for assembling stock footage into transitional montages. He graduated to being an editor and a second-unit director. As far as I know, Siegel is the only director to helm 2 Academy Award-winning projects before making his first feature. The 1945 shorts Hitler Lives and Star in the Night won Oscars as short subjects, although the producers, not Siegel, went home with the trophies. Siegel's reward was getting his first crack at directing a feature. He brought along with him his longtime cutting room colleague, Thomas Riley, getting his first chance to edit a feature-length film. Aiding the first-timers was veteran cameraman Ernest Haller, an Oscar winner for Gone with the Wind, who'd earned another nomination the previous year for photographing Mildred Pierce. Haller was definitely not afraid of the dark. This film is saturated with inky shadows. Many of the supporting players were reunited from Greenstreet and Lorre's previous film, Three Strangers, released earlier in 1946. That includes young Joan Loring, Arthur Shields, and the marvelous Rosalind Ivans. Also featuring George Coulouris as Greenstreet's Bête Noire, here is the rare locked room mystery that's also a wonderful example of film noir, The Verdict.